It's not even up for debate. The most successful team in English football is the red half of Merseyside.
Champions again! Liverpool!
They're one of the biggest clubs in the world now. But this wasn't always the case, because back then, Liverpool had to grind their way up. Liverpool as a football club was established in 1892, and they didn't win their first league title until 1901. After that, back-to-back league victories followed in 1922 and 1923. But this was still the good early days, if you like, because they entered the dark days from that period on. The club waited 24 years to win another trophy. In fact, it was so bad that by 1954, Liverpool had gotten relegated to the second division. The team and the fans were hopeful of one day making it back to the top of English football. But by 1959, it didn't look like it at all. After losing a game to non-league side Worcester United, something had to be done. They needed someone with a vision for the club, ready to take the team further, and in the end, the Reds' managerial appointment changed the landscape of football.
Well, I think that if a manager is honest and he has this natural enthusiasm, I think whilst he can't go into the field with the players, he can convey it to the players. You understand? He's with them and they're with him, and they'll be successful.
Phil Shankly arrived. Note that this was at a time when Liverpool was at a really low point in the club's history, post the Second World War. While other teams had gotten stronger, they'd fallen off. It now became Shankly's mission to find a way of taking the team back to the top. And from the few weeks he was in, he made a statement. He released 24 players from the first team, players who didn't fit into his idea and vision for the club. Shankly weren't playing games. He wanted fitter, quicker and younger players with a hunger and desire to play for Liverpool. Shankly was a wise man. He knew winning games wasn't just done on the pitch, but off it too. And that's when he created a new system that ultimately found a place in Liverpool's history. So I'll get to that system in a bit. But first, some of you watching still haven't subscribed to Matchday 365 yet. All you have to do is hit that subscribe button on your screen. It's really that easy. So the cold room used to be a storage facility for Boots when he arrived. But under Shankly, the place was converted into a meeting point for him and his managerial team to discuss tactics. In his team, Shankly had himself, Bob Paisley, Ruben Bennett and Joe Fagan. And together, they achieved a lot at Liverpool and brought the first period of sustained success at the club. We've now entered the 1960s, and Liverpool started achieving success. In 1962, 3 years after Shankly was appointed as manager of the club, they were promoted back to the First Division. And 2 years later, in 1964, they were champions of the league. In 5 years, they'd gone from losing to a non-league side in the Second Division to becoming champions of England. What a result! This, though, was still only the beginning. After winning a First League title in 17 years, they wanted more, and they set out to achieve it. In 1965, Liverpool won the FA Cup for the first time in the club's history. By 1966, they added yet another league title. But it was in Europe where the club had really made strides. They reached the finals of the European Cup Winners' Cup, losing to Borussia Dortmund 2-1. But it took nothing away from the fact they'd come a long way. This Liverpool team was on the rise. In 1973, the club won the league again and the FA Cup, the double, and by 1974 they added another FA Cup. But the season was overshadowed by what happened after, because on the dugout a change was imminent. Shankly, the man who had taken Liverpool from the Championship to becoming champions of the league, had announced his decision to retire. It should have been a hard period for the Reds. He effectively transformed the club and turned them into a force to be reckoned with in European football. But it was here Liverpool started a tradition that would sustain the club for years to come. Shankly's retirement was confirmed. He was out of the club, but the man who was in to replace him was no stranger.
Shy, reluctant leader has persuaded that this is his position on his last day here.
Bob Paisley, Shankly's assistant. The transition from Shankly to Paisley was smooth. They both shared the same ideas, playing quicker football with a younger set of players, and both wanted to win big. Paisley had learnt his trade under Shankly and was now ready to make his name at the club, and pretty soon he was on the right track. In 1976, Liverpool won the league and the UEFA Cup under Paisley, but the real achievement came in 1977, when for the first time in the club's history, Liverpool became champions of the continent. They won the European Cup that year, the modern-day version of the UEFA Champions League. It was an amazing achievement for Paisley and his boys, but once again, this was still only the start for them. They also won the league too. In fact, 1977 could have been a historic year for the club had everything gone to plan. They almost won the treble. Unfortunately, they lost out to Manchester United in the finals of the FA Cup. Had they won that, they could have become the first team to win the treble of the European Cup, FA Cup and the league title. In the following season, Liverpool completed a successful defence of their European title, the first English team to win it back-to-back. By 1979, they added yet another league title to the trophy cabinet. 1981, a third European title arrived at Anfield, so Paisley had now become the first manager to win the European Cup 3 times. His status as a Liverpool legend was all but confirmed. In 1983, Paisley decided to call time on his Liverpool career as manager. In the 9 years he spent at the club, he became, to date, the most decorated manager in the club's history. In the 9 years he spent as Liverpool's manager, he won 6 league titles and 3 European Cups. He averaged a trophy every season as manager. The tradition continued. Paisley was no longer head coach now, but once again, another familiar face came in to replace him at the dugout.
What's happened out there on the ground, we didn't know the full extent of the tragedy that had happened, and therefore, when I hear it now, I'm more than ever. I'm very, very sorry about what happened.
Joe Fagan took over as head coach in 1983. He was part of Shankly's initial coaching crew in the infamous boot room, was assistant to Paisley in the latter tenure at the dugout, and now Fagan was given the main job of continuing the legacy of the successful coaches before him. In his first season, Fagan and Liverpool hit the ground running. They won the league, European Cup and League Cup in the first year. The first club to win a treble of some sort if you like, but in the following season, precisely in 1985, a dark incident marked Liverpool and the club as a whole. In 1985, Liverpool took on Juventus in the European Cup final, but the game itself was overshadowed by what happened in the stands. Some Liverpool fans made their way to the Juventus section in the stands and attacked them in an incident known as the Heysel disaster. 39 people were confirmed dead, and following the incident, UEFA stepped in. They banned English clubs from competing in European football for 5 years, and the ban on Liverpool was even worse. They were banned for 10 years from competing in European football. The ban was later reduced to 6 years, but the implications were that for the duration of the ban, Liverpool would have to focus entirely on the league and domestic competitions alone. By the way, if you still haven't subscribed to Matchday 365 yet, just hit that subscribe button down below. So, Joe Fagan resigned shortly after, and in his stead, Kenny Dalglish became the new player-manager of the club. Under Dalglish, the club continued the tradition of winning domestically. He won the domestic doubles in his first season as player-manager. In fact, in his 5 years at the club as head coach, Dalglish won 3 league titles and 2 FA Cups. But once again, Liverpool was shadowed by an incident that happened off the pitch. 1989, in the FA Cup semi-finals versus Nottingham Forest at Hillsborough, the place was so full that a section of fans rammed themselves into the perimeter. A disaster occurred and multiple lives were lost. 94 fans were reported dead, and over the years that followed, the figures rose to 97. Liverpool won the FA Cup that season, but it's safe to say the Cup success meant nothing compared to the loss of lives that happened at Hillsborough. They could have added another league title that season as well, but they lost out on the league by the wildest margin possible. Liverpool and Arsenal finished the 1988-89 season level on the same number of points, goal difference, games won and games lost. Heck, the only difference was in the colour of their kits, and even that wasn't all too different. Anyway, it was so tight that the league was decided on goals scored that year, and Arsenal only edged that one by scoring in the dying stages of their final league match that season. But the league title didn't elude Liverpool for long, as Kenny Dalglish's team won the title again the next season in 89-90, making it the 18th league championship for the club. King Kenny eventually stepped down in February 1991. After resigning, he cited the Hillsborough disaster and the Heysel disaster as his reasons for retiring. Dalglish was leaving the club on a high, but unknowingly to him and the club at the time, the good times were about to come to an end. Liverpool would soon experience a dark phase all over again. The man to replace Dalglish was Graham Souness, who had previously played for Liverpool in his active playing career, even though he won the FA Cup in 1992. By 1994, Souness was sacked. Roy Evans took over as head coach, but the best Evans could manage was 2 third-place league finishes in 1995 and 1998. Shortly after, the Liverpool managerial merry-go-round continued. Evans was gone, and in his place came Gerard Houllier. Houlier's appointment was timely. Not only did it stabilise the club, it also had them winning matches. The peak of this was in 2001, when Liverpool won the treble of the League Cup, FA Cup and the UEFA Cup, or modern-day Europa League. And Michael Owen played a starring role in this. Owen had a fantastic 2001 and ultimately was selected as the best player in the world, winning the Ballon d'Or. What an achievement! Today, Owen remains the last Englishman to have won the award, and the only Liverpool player to win the award as well. By 2004, Gerard Houllier was gone, and to replace him, Liverpool hired a Spanish tactician at the dugout. Rafael Benitez's first season in charge of Liverpool could not have gone any better. They finished 6th in the league, but all of that didn't matter, because in the Champions League, Liverpool overcame the odds. The miracle of Istanbul. In the Champions League final against AC Milan, Liverpool was 3-0 down at half-time. They looked down and out, but from nowhere, they managed a comeback for the ages. Goals from Steven Gerrard, Vladimir Smicer and Xabi Alonso pulled it back to 3-3 and took the game to a penalty shootout. And in there, the Reds held their nerve over Milan to complete the comeback and take the win on penalties. 2 years later, Benitez and Liverpool were in another Champions League final against the same opponents, this time in Greece. But unfortunately, history could not repeat itself. Liverpool lost to Milan 2-1 on the night. But even at that, the performance and road to the final was still something to be proud of. In the 2008-2009 season, Liverpool came close to ending a 19-year league drought. They hadn't won the league since 1990 and hadn't won it at all since it was changed to the new format in 1992. The team Benitez put out on that campaign came so close. Torres leading the line and Gerrard pulling the strings in midfield. But ultimately, they just fell short after drawing too many games, losing out on the league to Manchester United, and by the following season, after finishing 7th, Benitez was gone. And to replace him, Liverpool called on Roy Hodgson. But the year was also significant for Liverpool for a major reason as well. Liverpool had nearly become bankrupt and was close to administration. The club needed a financial takeover to happen, as the Hicks and Gillett disastrous regime nearly took the club to the gutter. If they wanted to maintain their status and keep the finances positive. And in the end, an agreement was reached with John W. Henry, the owner of the Fenway Sports Group, or the FSG, in October 2010. 3 months after, Roy Hodgson was gone as Liverpool manager, and to replace him, the club called on a legend. Kenny Dalglish was back at the helm. In his second spell as Liverpool manager, Dalglish won the League Cup in 2012 and got to the FA Cup final in the same year. But on the flip side, he'd taken Liverpool to the club's worst ever finish that season. And by the summer, he was gone. Brendan Rodgers became the next to have a go at fixing Liverpool. And after a decent 2012-13 season of trying to implement his ideas into the team, the next season, his Liverpool team took off. Goals like this had him flying. 101 league goals scored that season, the most they'd scored in the league in 118 years. Liverpool came a few games away from ending their Premier League trophy drought, and even though many believe Gerrard's slip here cost them the title, but in the end it was their defence that just leaked too many goals and Liverpool just tried to outscore every other team.
Oh, given away, here's Demba Ba! It's 1-on-1! Demba Ba for Chelsea, score!
It was the 3-3 draw against Crystal Palace that ultimately meant Liverpool had lost out on the league. In his illustrious career for Liverpool, Gerrard was yet to win a league title, and he never did. By October 2015, after a dismal start to the season, Brendan Rodgers was gone, and his replacement was the normal one. By the way, if you still haven't subscribed to Matchday 365 yet, just hit that subscribe button down below. Jurgen Klopp. Klopp made it clear from the onset that he was trying to build a team to make the Liverpool fans change from doubters to believers. And he went the right way in realising this. In his first season at the club, he guided them to the League Cup and Europa League final. They lost both, but the vision was clear. It was all about rebuilding this team into something huge. In the summer of 2017, Liverpool signed former Chelsea reject Mohamed Salah from Roma for a reported fee of around $35 million. And Salah repaid the faith the club showed in him by breaking the then record for the most goals scored in the league with 32. In January, ever transfer fee paid to a British club. They also strengthened the squad too, because in the same window, they splashed $75 million to make a certain Dutchman become then the most expensive defender in the world. Virgil van Dijk. The transfers seemed to pay off. That year, Liverpool got to the final of the Champions League, but lost to Real Madrid 3-1. In the following year though, they were back on that stage again, digging deep against Barcelona to overturn a 3-0 defeat in the semi-finals, to win 4-0 at Anfield and 4-3 on aggregate. And in an all-English final versus Tottenham Hotspurs, Liverpool became champions of England for the 6th time, the first one under Jurgen Klopp. The Champions League was done now, and attention focused on the Premier League. In that season, they'd finished with 97 points and only lost one league game all season, but still finished second to Manchester City in a title race that went to the final day. This would have been enough to break any team, but not Liverpool. Instead, they used this as motivation to go harder the following campaign, and in the next season, Liverpool hit a whole new level. They didn't just win the league, they won it in style. 99 points, the highest by a club in the league. They won it with 7 games to play, a joint record of